everybody, and welcome to the Richard Listens Show, Friday edition. Hope you're all getting ready for a fabulous weekend and staying safe out there. No, we're not having an earthquake. I'm just getting my computer settled here. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Impact Dental Designs, and for their great work on the fight of the night last week with MMA fighters Shane Burgess and Lyman Good. That was tremendous. And to Injitsu, in person and Zoom MMA fighters training you in your own living room, and you get to interact with them at their best. If you have not been to my patreon.com/RichardListens page, please, and thank you to all those who have continued to sign up and join and subscribe. I am grateful, and this is my appeal to you. There is no show without my listeners, so thank you to all those of you who have been signing in and joining. Today we bring to you Mr. Jared Sagal, who is a soccer trainer as well as a filmmaker. Jared Sagal began his playing career in Las Cruces, New Mexico. He was a member of the New Mexico State Western Regional Team, and he was a reserve for the under-16 U.S. national team. He's played and trained in England's North London League, in Stockholm, Sweden's premier youth club, AIK, and he played for 4 years at Division I soccer for SMU in Dallas, Texas. He's a former professional player in Germany and Sweden. He's coached extensively in Europe and the US and brings to you a style of training called cognitive football training, which I'm sure you'll be excited to learn about. He's the father of 10-year-old soccer player Brighton Lee Sagal, who's been training with some of the football academies in Europe, and he's documented his son's soccer development, a series of webisodes and short films that are available online. Without further ado, we bring to you Mr. Jared Sagal. Thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoy the show. Space.
Crazy. Okay.
This is an exciting time. Well, I just got done singing all your praises in the intro, Jared. It's
Jesus.
Finally.
How come I wasn't privy to that?
To being met? Oh, to your bio?
Yeah, I wanted to hear all that stuff.
Right, you don't know it by heart already?
No, I'll get. All right.
Well, I was busy being impressed. Like my tone got more and more excited as I read it. And I keep asking my son, Michael, who's trained with Jared, and he keeps talking about, oh, you got to learn this cognitive training that he's doing. He's flashing colors and cones at us.
Right.
You know, one day he's describing you as like, you know, the cognitive soccer trainer, and then he's like, you got to check out his films. And I'm like, man, this guy, he's got like 3 different identities.
Yeah,
so,
more. my wife knows of 3. But
well, hey, listen, we don't discriminate against multiple personalities here.
I'll get
My kids just lump it all into one category of weird.
Yeah. No, I get it. Not to segue off, but just I'm more, listen, like Michael, I've gotten to know Michael, your son, for the last off and on, I guess before I went to England and through Bobby, but I'm so impressed with him on a number of different levels. And this is not just to kiss your ass a little bit before we start, but the hardest working, most motivated, most humble, down to earth kid. So whatever you have done with him, congratulations, because he's always like a total joy to be on the field with. And he's always welcome to jump into every session and he usually does. He's always asking to jump into sessions. I'm like, whenever you want to train, you can train. And I just want to let you know how impressed I am with how you've raised him. So
thank you. Thank you
so
much.
I gotta go.
I mean, how much did he pay you for that? Is that like, you know, now I feel like I can't ask for any chores around the house. I've got the poor guy like.
No, give him a break today. Whatever, just give him the day off today. So I'll get.
It's like Karate Kid. He's been like painting fences and carrying furniture over here, and he's like, "Don't you know that I just rode my bike a marathon?"
I know,
so,
but he's super motivated, and he's one of those kids that he would probably self-admit to most people that technically he's behind, but his heart is he will get ahead of everybody else. So he'll outwork people. Yeah. And he'll be smarter.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest compliment. As an athlete myself, I certainly felt limited athletically,
Mhm.
but in terms of determination, work ethic,
Yeah,
passion,
yeah,
I always tried to do that. And he, from a young age, really begged for opportunities to play soccer.
yeah,
And it's really interesting to be a sports parent, as I know
yeah,
you've gotten your son into a lot of opportunities at a young age. And I want to hear more about that.
yeah,
But we had to like really beg coaches who were willing to drive him certain times.
sure.
I mean, he's created
Yeah,
so many relationships all on his own, and
yeah,
even this whole situation where he met trainer Bobby Humphrey through Point Break Academy here. Every day since last summer, he's rode his bike there.
yeah,
He knew we wouldn't be able to drive him, so
yeah.
I hope he can catch up. But I love it that he's attacking the gap areas, and he looks at people who have more talent. And he goes, "How do I how
I
do I
know,
acquire that?"
I know. But it's only a matter of time though, because technically he will catch up, but nobody's going to have the grit that he has. So at that point, it will be pretty interesting to see when that kind of when those that the distance gets narrower and narrower for him. Because I've seen him, I've watched him play in the pickup stuff, and he's just an absolute beast. An absolute beast.
Thank you. I mean, I saw some video, and I feel bad because it's always like when it's your son, you're doing the sports psychology, but when it's your son, you're at the dinner table and he throws a video in front of your face. Usually, it's
Yeah,
like I'm not available to
yeah,
to 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 look at it. And I saw, and I was like, wow, to be
yeah,
able to see the difference in speed,
yeah.
and obviously, his body shape has changed from just really putting in a lot of cardio, and now he's
Right.
been trying to plan ahead on his meals and things like that. So
Awesome.
yeah, it's exciting to be a part or to see some of
Yeah,
the things that we were doing in the house
yeah.
have kind of sunk in, or that we can be a part of it. Like when you figure,
What
hey, can
was
we
your
go get
sport, Richard? What did you play?
basketball?
Oh, right. That's what Michael. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You told me that.
you
Right.
can't tell because of my small chair here.
Yeah, yeah,
my
yeah.
new podcast. I've been kicked to the garage, so
Nice.
it's a
Well,
quiet space.
after you had Jerome Davis on, I'm not sure why I'm even on here.
So you're busy comparing yourself to my other guests.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I hear about the lineup of sports parents that are at Point Break. I'm like, everybody is so amazing and
yeah,
so keyed in as a parent.
yeah.
But listen, playing 4 years Division I soccer. I mean, you played professionally sports in Europe.
Mhm.
Um, so Jerome may have beat you in the 100 or the 400. I don't know what his.
Jerome's faster than me. Yeah.
Have you raced him?
No, but Bobby's faster than me too. So
Well,
But
Bobby's also. What is he? He's
Bobby's
riding.
old. Bobby's younger than me, so it doesn't matter.
He's riding what? 30 miles a week on his
Yeah.
bicycle.
Bobby's an animal. Yeah, but great guy. Great guy.
So, I mean, where do we want to start? So you went. When did you return? In terms of with Corona and everything, and your
Yeah.
your journey, did you guys had planned to go and train your son in the academy in England?
Right. So we left February 25th. And at that point, to take people back a little bit, like it was right at the beginning of this thing. I had conversations with my brother, and he was like, "Man, I wouldn't go," and I'm like, "Oh, we're going." We saw masks in the airport, um, leaving LAX, and then we got there, and I think it was about 2.5 weeks 3 weeks when it all hit when it all went down. So my son Brighton, we had about, like I said, maybe 3 weeks of training at Man City and some other stuff. And then things started to get really weird. There was still futsal and stuff going on, but we took a little more conservative approach. So I stopped taking him to those kind of things. And then we couldn't get back. I didn't want to fly the family. My whole family was over there, and I didn't want to fly back and risk that. So we stayed until about 3 weeks ago. So we were there for about three months.
Well, look, we got a special guest visitor.
Wow, dude, I've
Got
never
done.
seen
He
you.
just got done singing your praises.
I've never seen you with your makeup off, dude. You look different.
Man, he just gave me a list of 10 things you need to work on to be a better
person
in general.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I was just talking so good about you, Michael.
Thank you, Jared.
Yep.
Thank
You know I'm a big fan, man. Seriously.
Thank you.
Yep. If my son had just like a quarter of the heart and will of you, then we may have something there. So you could just rub off on him.
Can it be rubbed off by osmosis? What do you think? Is that why you
Yeah.
get your son around
Totally.
different types of players?
Try it. We try it.
I'm just trying to get Brighton skills, to be honest.
Listen, yeah. Listen, if you would just respect me just a little bit. I get fired like at least 3 times a week. I get fired by my son. You're fired. I don't want anything to do with you. I'm over. I'm not going to train with you anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that is a hard line to walk. I mean, in a way, I feel like it's an easy out for me, right? Because I don't have the knowledge or skills in soccer. So in a way, I can stand off and say, there's not much I can say or do. But when you try and get into the fire with your son and be the one who says it's time to go, I mean, how do you get his buy-in from a young age? Like, does he want the greatness? Does he love it?
Yeah, I think he does love it. You know, the question is a good one because, and you're a sports psychologist, so you get it. Like I have to be a sports psychologist also. I have to be a manager. I have to be a sports psychologist. I have to be his dad, and I have to balance those 3 things. And it becomes really, really challenging. There's nothing that I would have loved is if I found coaching that I thought was fantastic for him. And that's been the real big problem, is that I've had to take the training on because I can't find anything that's, without, tooting my own horn, right? I can't find it. What I'm doing, I can't find anywhere else unless I take him to Barcelona, which is where I learned all this stuff from a guy that trained at Barcelona, because I didn't make this stuff up. I just have stolen it from these guys. And that would be the only place. But I thought taking him to the UK, right? Like a lot of parents maybe listening is like, I'm gonna take my kid to Europe and I'm gonna wash my hands and I'm gonna put him in an academy, right? And I'm telling you right now, that shit doesn't happen. Like the trainings will be surprisingly poor, right? The instruction will be surprisingly poor. The environment will be great. The kids are great. The instruction, average. So all those kids in England, right, that are getting great, they're getting great outside of the academy. And that's the reality of it. They're getting great in these little groups, like, these PB groups or groups that I've set up, like in the shithole areas of England, where like they're into the slums, and like 10 and 15 academy kids from Liverpool, Manchester United, Everton, they're bringing their kids there and they're just grinding. Like it's like Fight Club, right? It's those kind of pockets of, Anson Dorrance calls it like the competitive cauldron, right? It's those pockets where the kids get great. They're not really getting great in these academies. And so I was bummed out, right? Because now I've got to continue to train, right? Continue to work on, and don't get me wrong, I love it, but it creates loads of problems, loads of challenges.
So does it help you to find a club like PB or someplace where you can take the pressure off yourself?
No, because I'm coaching there. You know what I mean? And the stuff that I'm doing, like with Michael and these kids, I know that they're not getting anywhere. Like all the cognitive stuff, right, is only really happening in a few places around the world, right? And they're for sure happening in Barcelona, right? And like Pep's doing it at Man City. Mourinho does it at Spurs. But there's 40 concepts that like the top coaches in the world, they kind of all know. And these are these Barcelona concepts, like speaking through the ball, using your back foot, all the head up stuff, all the stuff. And I'm trying to at least instill a few of these, like with kids like Michael, and my son's been doing it for years. But the idea of can you create more time? And if you have more time, you have more space. And if you have time and space, then it's easier to play soccer, period.
That's beautiful. I mean, there's so many angles here. And I also, being a therapist, I know that your brother is a sports psychologist.
Right.
Michael's going to grab a chair so he's not in a squat the whole time.
Yeah.
You've already worked his legs for today. So, I mean, so, there's a disadvantage to being around, like you said, having all the knowledge you have, having all the experience you have, it presents other obstacles compared to if you're coming from beginner's mind like me. You may get stuck just accepting your AYSO program or whatever you have locally because you don't know better.
Right.
So do you find that having all these tools and knowledge helps you to guide him because you know exactly where you want to get him and what tools you want to bring him, and that you're trying to bring something to the greater soccer community? Does he feel a part of that?
You talking about my son, or?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my son, like many kids, like his age, and Michael's a little bit different because he's got athleticism. But for a kid like my son, who's never going to be fast, who's never going to be athletically phenomenal, right? The only way for him to succeed in this is to be smart, and that's his only way out. So that's why these concepts are perfect for many kids, because there's the 1%ers like Michael Jordan and these guys that are absolute freaks, right? Mbappe, Ronaldo, Messi, these guys are freaks, right? But for the majority of players, right, including Michael, have to be smarter than the rest. It's their only chance to succeed at this, if you want to cut right down to it. Michael's fast and has good athleticism, relatively so. But given what the top athletes are, no. So he's got to be fast. He's got to be smart. He's got to be cognitively a genius. He's got to know where the pressure's coming from, how to get out of the pressure before it happens. Okay, he's got to learn to play with his head up. He's got to learn to use his back foot to get into spaces. He's got to learn what his options are. It's just like being a spy. I tell Michael this all the time. When you walk into a room, right, if you're like an FBI agent or a spy, exit's there, that guy's shoelace is untied, whatever, right? It's the same way with being a soccer player. And it takes years and years to train that way. But Iniesta is the perfect example. Iniesta, Xavi, De Bruyne, these midfielders that somehow know where all the pressure's coming because they're always looking around. They're always scanning and taking pictures. Picture there, the pressure's there, the space is there, the pressure's there, the space is there. And then once you understand that very basic principle of time and space, then really soccer is not that difficult, right? It's a very simple sport, but we make it really complicated because we play with our head down. Like, can you imagine playing basketball and you're just dribbling, right? And all you're doing is staring at the parquet floor. You just dribble, right? Can't play basketball that way.
That's right? The biggest mistake the beginning players make, right? Not having their vision.
You can't drive a car with your head down, right? So why are you playing soccer with your head down? When you drive your car, you're constantly scanning. You're constantly looking around. You're checking your rearview mirror to see who's behind you. It's actually a pretty good analogy for soccer players, right? It's like driving, right? If you drive with your head down, you're going to get in an accident. If you play soccer with your head down, you're going to slam somebody. You're going to go into pressure, and you're going to go into congestion.
So here we are. We're in a place, right? COVID, quarantine, extended, uncertainty. How through technology can this learning be brought to other soccer clubs and other soccer players? And is there an openness to it?
I think it's almost impossible. The only thing that I would tell people during this to improve their cognitive ability is to watch games. Watch games. Don't watch the ball. Watch everything that's going on without the ball. The ball is just there to seduce you. It's seductive, right? When we watch, we all want to watch the ball. Where's the ball going? But the real learning is taking place away from the ball. And that's when people are moving into spaces. That's when people are checking their shoulders. right? I always tell the kids or the new kids, Michael probably knows the answer. I'm like, who's the one player on the field that always has the best body profile on the field in every game? And the kid's like, oh, well, the center midfielder or the, or the goalkeeper, because the goalkeeper sees in front. And the truth is, it's the referee, because the referee always has to see both sides of both goals. So he's always in a good body profile. He's always able to see this goal and this goal. And every player should play like that, thinking like they're the ref. They can always see this. They're never facing to where they can't see what's going on behind them. If a referee like that, then somebody gets kicked behind him, somebody pulls somebody's shorts down, whatever it is, and he can't see it. So that's why you want to play like the ref, so you can see, so you're always like this.
We should bring you out to train some of our basic referees.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So, segueing from, but you played as a young man. You were passionate enough to play Division I soccer yourself. Where did that motivation come from for you? And who gave you this training at a young age yourself?
My brother was older, so he got me into it. We grew up in a small town in Las Cruces, New Mexico, so it wasn't soccer. It was hardly a soccer hotbed. And then I just fell in love with it. My dad was from Brooklyn, New York. He didn't know anything about soccer. He just read books. He was a philosophy professor, and but we had like pretty good work ethic.
And your mom's a psychologist?
Yeah, my mom's a shrink. Yeah. So my dinner conversations were, I'm sure like Michael could probably attest to that. I've had some pretty wacky dinner conversations.
Cognitive research labs were probably research and studies were being presented, no?
Yeah, right. Like, does God exist? What do you think, Jared? I don't know, Dad. I just really want to eat my burrito. You know what I mean? But yeah, no. And then, I just felt like I couldn't get enough of it. But the thing that I didn't have is the stuff that I'm teaching the kids and my son right now. I had nothing of that. And the reality is, until I worked with this guy, Albert Puig, who was at Barcelona, like I really knew nothing about soccer up until about 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't really know how this whole thing worked. And what he taught me unlocked everything.
So in short, how can you describe it to my viewers? I mean, I saw just a video that I was watching of the training of the colors triggering, so you're trying to track stimuli, which is signaling a direction or an awareness. So how is it about linking cues together? Is it about sequencing memory?
Right. Yeah, it's a good question. It's less about that and more about how quickly can you identify where the space is. That's really like one of the main secrets is, for example, if I'm holding an orange cone and a yellow cone and you have to turn your neck behind you to see if it's orange or yellow. The orange cone would be connected to an orange goal. The yellow cone is connected to a yellow goal, right? So when you turn your shoulder, we call it checking your shoulder, right? It's how fast can you recognize the color and how fast can you get into the space. So with 1 million repetitions of that, you can get really good about recognizing where, like, your brain basically is connected to the cone, to the colors, and you're connecting to the open space. Now we do a thing now, if there's a group of kids going, and if I hold up yellow, and yellow is connected to the yellow goal, but Michael or somebody just shot to the yellow goal, that space is now occupied. Michael cannot go into yellow, even though I'm telling you go yellow. So now your brain has to say, I can't go yellow. Even though Jared's telling me to go yellow, I've got to go blue, right? It's a series of those decisions under pressure, right, into space.
Because you'll hear your teammates, right, saying, right, I'm open.
Exactly.
Right? And you'll have to override that stimuli.
100%. That just happened today at training. And I use that exact example, Richard. It's like, right? Players always are calling for the ball and they're not open. So you've got to go somewhere else. Well, that's exactly right.
Wow. So, and now, I mean, are you still playing as an adult yourself? I mean, I know we're in a crazy time right now.
Not really. I mean, every once in a while, Michael will see me out in a pickup game, but I'll have thrown my back out like the next day or.
A couple months ago, he was helping.
Yeah,
Like,
but I love to play. Like I you know, I'm 47 and my brain still feels like I can play, but my body, it's just such a bummer, man. It's such a bummer. Because I'm better than
you
all
can
these
jump
kids.
in the yoga with me and the lap pull. We're into maintaining now. So a psychologist, a philosophy professor, and a sports psychologist is a brother.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to make for interesting dinner conversation.
Yeah, I was always I was the black sheep. I was the creative. You know, I was the guy with my listening to Sex Pistols with my headphones on. You know, I was that guy. Like I just was like, I ran from it. You know, I just wanted to be creative and ended up, you know, making films and doing stuff. And
yeah, so tell us about that. Your company, ROCKERRAZZI.
Yeah, it's a lot of like short form content. We've got I run a pretty popular YouTube channel called Kicking Cousins. We have almost 400,000 subscribers. And then the Young Ronaldo film that I did with my nephew Simon has over 40 million views. So it's the most watched soccer series ever on YouTube. I'm doing Young Beckham with my son, Brighton, which will be a full-length movie. So it's the first time I've ever done that. And that should be done in like a week or so. We'll try to get David Beckham to somehow make a cameo in this. And
is he responding? How many times?
I haven't pitched it to him yet. I know people that know him, so I'm waiting to send him the trailer. And then I help a lot of brands, soccer brands, market themselves. So I do like commercials for them, product commercials. I help with their identity. I help tell their story against a visual to help them understand a bit more about like who they are and who their market is. And my brother helps me a lot with that stuff.
I'm sure he's got a lot of great messaging.
Yeah. So he's great. He's the smartest guy I know, my brother. So except for you, Richard.
Spoken like a very smart younger brother. Like I'm going to keep him happy. But that's got to be a great teammate. What questions do you have, Michael?
Oh, I have two questions. One was like, I saw you at the field this morning.
Yeah.
Most likely you'll probably be there in the afternoon when I'm there. How do you manage your time? Because me, like, I'll go to the field in the morning and I need to take a 2-hour nap before my session in the afternoon. How are you doing work and still spending time with your daughter and your wife, like, at the same time?
Man, that is an easy question. I don't spend any time with them at all. I don't see my daughter and I don't hang out with my wife at all. No.
Edit minute 31. No.
Yeah. I come home. I edit. I love like what I do. I love to coach and I love to produce and direct and edit films. I love it. So it never feels like, I mean, the thing I get burnt out most on is coaching crappy kids. And I try not to coach crappy kids. I did that a long time ago when I was younger, and I was like, I don't want to coach crappy kids anymore. I want to coach like elite level athletes because they're the ones that I really can help the most. There are plenty of coaches to coach younger kids, although I do have some clients that I love to coach that are young, that are relatively new.
Well, say more about that, Jared. I know Michael has another question, but flesh that out because, and I think I feel similarly in terms of the clients I choose to work with. But when you say crappy kids, like off the cuff, you don't mean just those without talent, right?
Right. No, I don't want to coach. I want good parents. I want good kids. I want motivated kids. The kid could be a total crap soccer player, and if he wants it and shows up and he's there half an hour before and he's doing stuff and he's running afterwards, and I'm into it, like 100%. But the bad attitude and the soccer dad or soccer mom complex thing, it's like, I just don't have time for it. Too old for it. I just want nothing to do with it, which is why, like, I want nothing to do with club soccer. Like, I'm anti-club soccer. My son's not played club soccer for 3 years. We don't do any of that. It's just, don't want anything to do with that kind of mess of soccer madness.
Okay. We'll pick up with that after. Did you get your question answered? So how do you structure your time? How do you keep balance, you know, when you have your passion in sports and in creativity? You're kind of like finding this ultimate balance, and you have, you know, bigger goals within each. Yeah. How do you carve that time so you feel like you're checking all the boxes and the family feels connected?
To be honest, I'm pretty awful at it. I'm just awful at all that, at time management, and like it's something that I'm sure, you know, if I sat down with somebody like a time management specialist, I could be way more efficient. So I'm not good at that. Like, I'm the classic, like, artistic, creative mind that, like, I want to just go everywhere. Not in like a crazy manic way, but like, when I want to finish something, then I just, like, my head's down and like nothing can stop me, and I'm just going to finish it. My days are structured. I train in the morning. I have the afternoon free. So I hang out with my daughter and, you know, play some soccer with her and my wife and I, and, you know, go for a walk or something. And then I'm back out to the field from 4 o'clock to 8 at night usually. Then I'm back home and then watch some news and edit some more until like 2 in the morning and then get up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's more to that, right? When you choose a partner or something, you know, hopefully Michael gets to that stage of his life, when you choose someone who knows what you're passionate about. Yeah. And when your kids are also engaging in soccer or engaging in getting into the film work with you, things, you know, start to fold together. They're not opposing.
Right. It takes a very understanding wife to, I mean, you know, and obviously I knew that, and she, you know, partially knew that going into it, but, you know, I'm pretty impossible, you know what I mean? Like, self-admittedly, like, really difficult, and she's amazing to put up with me, but it's like, I'm doing a million different things. I haven't had a real job ever. I've never had a real job, right? I moved out to LA. I had no tattoos on my arms when I moved here 20 years ago. I got tattooed to reinforce the fact that I will never have a real job. I don't want to be hireable by anybody. I will never be hired by a 9-to-5 person ever. I wanted to make, you know, I wasn't going to tattoo my face, but I did everything that I could do to make myself unemployable by the mainstream market. And that's just, you know, I've written loads of songs. One of the lyrics of my songs is like, I'd rather die than work 9 to 5. And that's the truth. Like, I don't see that as living. Like, I just want to help people, want to motivate people. I want to be creative. I want to spend as much time with my family as I can, spend time with my mom and dad while they're still here because they're getting old, and talk to, you know, people like yourself, Richard, who's raised, you know, what I see as like an example for not only my son, but for the other kids that are out there, right? Because he is an example. And those are the people that I want to surround myself with. You know how it is, Richard. I mean, you get to this age and you're like, you know, you don't have any fucking time to, like, why? Why do you want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I you know, Michael saw me work with, you know, I went to the county, I went to the salt mines, I did the freedom constricting job. It was very good, gave us safe benefits for raising a family, but it was soul crushing. And then the last 5 years where I've launched into ventures like this, which are nobody teaches you how to be an entrepreneur or, so the unknown, but the amazing people that come to me through this journey and embracing kind of beginners or novice mind. Just because I don't know a lot about one particular sport, number one, doesn't mean that I can't help the athletes or help the parents.
Sure. Yeah,
you can really feel the parents struggle, because if they were successful, it's hard not to want your child to want that same level of success. And if they failed, it's hard not to want to correct that part of yourself through your children. And a lot of parents, I think, are struggling with that, and they're not conscious of it. So in a way, it's a real gift, that I've been around all these fields and all these people, and I have had to tolerate being the least knowledgeable person in the room. And then you have to, in a way, like you said, if you accept that maybe you're not going to be Michael Jordan, like you could work on, you could stay in a pool where you feel like you dominate the game. You could stay in a club where you dominate the club, but that's never, at some point, you're never going to make it. And so if you do look, well, what are my strengths? What things do I have? And so sometimes when you are not the smartest in the room or the fastest or the best looking, you have to look inside and what can I improve upon and what am I great at?
Right. Find your superpower. What is that one thing that you do better than everybody else? Right. And for your son, it's going to be his work ethic. That's his superpower. Right. For my son, what I'm trying to give his superpower is hopefully going to be his head. Right. So everybody needs to find that one thing that's going to be their kind of superhuman strength that they have, right? That their identity is kind of built around. You just reminded me of something, and this will be important for Michael too, and people listening. I played at a good level. I did not play at the highest level, right? That I wanted to. Didn't play in the Bundes, like the top leagues in England, right? I played, third division soccer, and the why I'm saying that is because there's lots of definitions of success, as you know, Richard, right? And you can play soccer and be successful at playing soccer without playing in the best leagues in the world, without making loads of money, right? Because success for me was I got to travel, I learned some languages, I fell in love, I learned about food, wine, whatever it is, right? That was a success, right? Not playing in the Premier League or playing for Manchester United. It's not going to happen for these kids. The chances of happening are basically zero, right? When you go out to UCLA and there's 150 kids on that field, nobody's going to be a professional soccer player probably. Maybe one or two will play third division, but the numbers and the percentages, that's the truth. That's the harsh reality of this. Right? The kids going through Manchester City's academy, the actual percentages, it's less than a player make it all the way through from 10 years old through the academy. And that's inside the academy. So the numbers are stacked way against you, but it doesn't mean, right, you cannot be a successful soccer player. You can go travel, you can play in Germany in the third division, right? Learn the languages, learn about culture, become a better person. That's much more realistic. That takes the pressure off everybody when you start thinking about that, right? Especially my son.
Yeah, and it's also, how are we? My goal with athletes or with anybody who's a high performer is, what are you trying to achieve as a human being? And keeping that, like, it sounds like, I'm getting this image of you, I don't even know how you stayed within the structured routines of practice. Like, you definitely did. You don't like structure. You didn't want to fall into it, but you found your way to be successful within sport, and the routines of a Division I athlete are, that's like a full-time job to begin with.
Yeah, it's hard.
So keeping that conversation open with yourself of what does it mean for me to be successful right now? Is that about, I need to balance out, right? I'm not spending enough time with my family. Is that meaning, right, I need to work on, what other things do I want to explore that might round me out as a human being? If I live in another culture, another country, can I learn to connect through the language?
Yeah.
So, because I'm seeing the other side. We work with people, we have a panel of athletes post-retirement.
Right.
And it's a harsh reality. Even if you played in the NFL, the NBA, even if you made a ton of money, if you don't have financial management skills, if you don't have the skills to take care of your body in the long run, there's going to be some pain there. And not everyone's going to come out and reach out and tell you, because it's shocking for those who've been through it to go from making a few $100,000 to all of a sudden you're kind of behind all the people who are just grinding their way up a ladder. So constantly improving and keeping yourself well-rounded and instilling that as a sports parent becomes really imperative.
Totally. And listen, like, it's hard to be a sports parent. It is super, super hard, especially with like a kid that's not an easy kid. I mean, my kid's not an easy kid. Super complicated, super talented, right? But he's a complicated kid. Like when to hit the gas on him, when to hit the brakes on him. You know what I mean? It's all these things to try to keep the train going forward, right? But in a way that's going to be healthy, is hard, you know. And like, you have the Venus Williams, you have the Williams sisters' dad, you have Agassi, like all these people that we know about that have ridden their kids so hard and have been successful, right? But to the detriment sometimes of the relationships. And it's like,
how do you use that knowledge? How do you use that in your knowledge now that, you know, I know your son now that he's had to come back home due to a quarantine, or now that he's been through an injury and recovery, how do you keep that balanced mindset there when you still hold the candle for like being the best and being a star?
Yeah, it's hard. I think the thing that I struggle the most with, but I really try to work on every day, is to make sure that he understands that soccer is over here and my love for him is here. And no matter, he's still too young to really understand that as a concept. And you think that he should grasp it, but he still blurs those lines. I had a bad session, Dad. You're mad at me. You don't love me, right? And it's a constant reminder, like, Brighton, no matter what you do on the field, I will love you no matter what and do anything for you over here. Okay, soccer will always be, there will always be a division between my love and your performance. As much as you want to blur those lines together, right? I will continue to tell you, and it's not always perfect, right? We argue and fight all the time. But before we go to bed, I usually try to make it a point, right, to sit down, lay next to him and say, dude, I love you so much, so proud of you, great job, no matter what, how frustrated you are. We wake up, we go another day tomorrow. We keep going. We keep going. We're a team. I want to show alignment with him, right? So he knows that he and I are in this thing together, right? If he fails, I fail. When he succeeds, I succeed with him. And that's just that's a lengthy process to go through. But I think it's probably the strongest in the end.
Well, I mean, it's just an inspiring story to have a son who's that committed at this age and open to tell you how he feels, and that you're open to receiving that and to create that delineation, because kids begin to fuse. Right. This is how I get my dad's attention.
I know.
And if I score the goal, I'm good.
Right.
And if I don't, right.
I know. It's not easy, man. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not
so
easy.
Tell us a little bit more about, your passion, ROCKERRAZZI, making short films. I mean, what do you got, on tap? Can you continue producing through the quarantine? And how do you keep yourself focused and motivated in this changing time?
I've been pretty busy through the whole time. I work with a company in Manchester that makes performance grip socks. Called Viper 5. Michael has a couple pair. They're awesome. So I do continue to do branding for them. So I create kind of Instagram and Facebook ads for them, this all through this COVID craziness. I just am finishing up a movie or a documentary about an alien abduction. I decided to take the project on just for fun, and it's been incredible. A couple from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin claims that they got pulled into an alien spacecraft off the side of the road. And they drove out to Beverly Hills before COVID, and I did like 3 weeks of filming with them, and it
Wow.
yeah, so wild.
Those stories are not uncommon, right?
Yeah, but it's just crazy when you meet people that really believe this, and you're like, and then, I don't know. At this point, maybe it happened. I don't know.
I think those stories are less now because people have like cell phone cameras, right? It used to be like people said, "Oh, I saw the light," and
totally. So yeah, no, I've never been busier coaching, and it's been interesting. Like, I've never had more clients ever during this time, because everybody, I think, they want to go out, get out of their house, they want to train, and so I've had people call me up, like, I can't take, like, I'm maxed out in terms of clients that I want to take, and so that's good. So I'm able to make a decent amount of money doing that, and
it's incredible because the elite players and people who want to keep getting better during this time when their season's been lost need to seek out professionals like yourself. They need to find ways where they can socially distance and keep improving themselves and making the jump to the next level. It's not good enough just to maintain where you were at in February.
Right.
You need to keep improving. So, I mean,
it's interesting, right? This is an opportunity, though, Richard. I think that if you're brave enough to take this window, it's kind of a great opportunity to get ahead, because a lot of people aren't using this window. You know what I mean? And it's a good opportunity to work on some of the things that you would never normally work on. All the cognitive development stuff that you would never get in your team trainings. This window of COVID, right, enables you to kind of safely do that, because it's not, a lot of the stuff isn't full contact training, right? A lot of the cognitive stuff requires no contact. It's just brain work. You know what I mean? So
are there things that athletes can do if they can't make it to a field? Are there skills they can be doing in their driveway or?
Yeah, they can get an iPad and put an iPad on a tripod and create like a little iMovie where it's just colors, like rotating colors. And that's a really easy way to do it. Find a wall, put the iPad on its tripod behind you, and constantly be checking your shoulder and identifying what the images are on the iPad. It's a great way to do it at home. Or have a mom, or have your dad stand out there with holding numbers up, on your hands. Anything to make your brain do something in addition to focusing on the ball, right?
Yeah.
An easy thing for kids is like juggle and ask the kid questions. Like, what's the capital of Texas, as they're juggling? You know what I mean? Or can you name the top 3 most populous states in America? But to get them away from the task that's right in front of them. And I'm just convinced that kind of brain work over time will make you a better player.
You had another question, Mike?
Yeah. So you touched upon it before, but a little bit about the difference between like American soccer and soccer in Europe. But it's always this kind of thing where it's like American soccer is just worse because our academies aren't as good and they don't have the same infrastructure and that type of thing. Do you find that to be true? What's your opinion on that dilemma and that whole situation?
So the question, like, are the American academies worse than UK academy? Like, rephrase it again. Not sure I understand.
Simply put, it's like, why are Americans not doing as well in soccer as they should be?
I think the big word is culture. We don't have the culture here. I'm not sure if we can ever get the culture here. And what I mean by culture is we have too many choices in America. And other countries, there are far fewer sport choices. And when you have far fewer sport choices, it's easier to have like a very hyper competitive culture of kids that are all trying to battle against each other to be right. I mean, kids still in England, right? They play in the streets still. It's still happening over there, right? We just don't have that here, right? The kids in England or in Brazil or France or whatever, right? They're constantly exposed to soccer in the stadiums, right? They have the leagues everywhere. They have pickup everywhere. Every night they're playing with neighborhood kids. It's just different, you know. And often the brothers or sisters that they have are all playing too. So the younger ones have advantages in that capacity. I don't know if we'll ever get it here. Not really optimistic. The best that I think we can do is to push so hard to go into the inner cities and try to mimic the basketball culture that happened here, right? In those low income minority communities, and try to get those kids and convert those kids into soccer kids. It's our only shot of trying to compete.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I grew up playing basketball in New York, and right across from the town where Public Enemy was from, and Dr. J. And,
yeah,
you know, basketball had a different meaning.
Right.
It had a territorialism. It had, you know, everything from the warm up when you entered the gym, you know, and I get that sense being here in Los Angeles, being close to downtown. There is a culture predominantly because the parents have come from, you know, Latin America, and they played at a very young age. But you get a sense, you go to like a under 10-year-old game in downtown LA, and you get a sense of like, there's a different stake going on here, even when it's a scrimmage. The kids have got their hair done, shaved, names on the back of the jersey.
Right, because it's a way out. For soccer players, right, it's still predominantly a rich white kid sport, right? And until it gets into those tough neighborhoods and those inner city minority groups where it's plausible that it's a way out of that community, then maybe it'll be different. But right now, it's not really the sport that people think about like, this is a way out of my community, like it is in Europe still, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So what will you do for your son if club is not an option? What are the options?
I do what I'm doing right now. Take him to the field and I train him. I get him around kids like Michael and older kids all the time. I have this, what would I call it? This, well, it's the beginning of a book in my head, but the idea is it's called Soccer Milkshake. And that's how we do our week, right? We're constantly adding different ingredients into the milkshake throughout the week. So one day there'll be street soccer. The next day there'll be futsal. But there's always something happening that's going into the blender. And that
keeps it creative and fun as an athlete,
right?
And as a son,
right? So it's constant stimulus going on. He doesn't get the structure right. The argument too is like, well, he's not in a structured environment and he's not around the same kids for a consistent amount of time. All right, fair enough. I don't particularly give a shit about that. He doesn't seem to be socially suffering. So, you know, that's the way we operate. But that is the counter to this thing, is like, he's not identified with a team, right? So he doesn't get to put the uniform on, but he's on 3 different teams. You know what I mean? So that's just the way. Listen, the bottom line, Richard, is that if you came here and said, you know what, I can point to 10 U.S. soccer midfielders that are running the world right now, then I would be like, okay, it's different. But you can't, because we're not good. And we're not good because the model has failed. The club model is a failed model. Soccer is a big business here in the States. It's a money-driven business. It's pay to play. If you got the money, you can play, right? It's not that way anywhere else, okay? And so why not, I tell parents, why not take a chance and do something different, right? Because right now, the treadmill that these kids are on is not a proven model. We're not developing good players or enough of them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that, I know it doesn't always get met with warm, you know, reception, right? But recognizing that systems don't always work and don't always achieve what they're intended to do. I know there's a great Netflix documentary, Soccer in the City, I think it's called, which talks about Hulu. Okay, but you know, about reaching inner city kids, about moving this direction, and you know, about some of the people who tried to create the initial leagues, the USNL, and it's pretty amazing. You know, people who've been committed to soccer and have seen it, many leagues start and fail, and the commitment, you know, how you have to be willing to really be persistent to be on this journey. It hasn't been the focal point of American sports, like you said. It's been, you know, exciting, or now we like when David Beckham comes over, we like when Pele comes. But hopefully that's shifting and balancing out, because it's such a beautiful game and incorporates so many elements of healthy identity development. Well, Jared, I'm flattered that you made time for me amidst your busy schedule. Tell our listeners, and how can more people tap into your goal to see some of the things you're putting out there, or get some of that motivation, the motivational messages, or learn a technique from you?
Just to call me. 310-980-3741. Pick up the phone. I'll go on a walk around the neighborhood. We'll talk. We can coach your kids. We can make a film about you. I can tell you everything that you're doing is probably incorrect.
All in one walk, huh? You get a film made, you get shredded down, and we'll see how you do afterwards.
It's called The Walk That Will Change Your Life.
You got the soccer milkshake and the walk that will change your life. A lot of programs here.
A lot of programs coming up.
Well, let me know if any of your companies you're doing Instagram marketing want to sponsor a podcast.
I will.
We're grateful. We've got you know, one or two, but we're always looking for partners.
Okay, I will. Yeah, 100%. You're doing a great job, by the way. I love your stuff, and you should get my brother on next.
I would love it. I would love an introduction. This is how it works.
He's the guy. He's the guy.
That's great. Yeah, written many books, and he's producing a lot of content.
He's doing great. Yeah, he's doing great. Michael, amazing. What time are you going to be out there tonight?
I'll be there at 5.
Wow, well, that was an amazing show. Thank you so much to Jared Sagal, filmmaker of ROCKERRAZZI.com. Check him out, his film, Young Beckham, and other works he has in motivational videos on YouTube. And he's a real gift, obviously, with the personal connection there, and seeing the work he does with cognitive drills to keep your mind sharp while training. And we're blessed to know him, and look forward to connecting with his brother as well down the road, fellow sports psychology professional. And it is always amazing to see what it takes to be a creative individual content creator and Division I soccer player. There's no reason why you can't have both. If you can send that message to yourself, that was really something I was lacking at a young age. You do not have to be one or the other. You can be unique, you can be individual, and you can be an athlete. And if you're a parent out there, please allow for all of those things to be true and balanced, and support your child in figuring out their true voice. I'm Richard Listens. Thank you to Impact Dental Designs and Injitsu, our sponsor. Please hit me up on Instagram at RichardListens, and go to patreon.com/RichardListens and subscribe. Please, every dollar you give keeps us bringing more and more quality content to you in the world, and helping those who are in difficult situations right now get information, education, and inspiration. Thank you. I'm Richard Listens, and I'm out.